Now, let's move on to the next element, which follows our header. And we have a couple of horizontal rules, and then I've actually used paragraphs with special characters to create space. And it's kind of a hack. It's not semantically correct. The HRs are okay. A lot of people would probably use an HTML element and then use border, or they might even introduce a presentational graphic to create this. I'm going to leave the HRs, but we're going to get rid of this space right here. And then we're going to shorten the length of the HRs to match the length of our header. So let's get going. So first, let's get rid of these really sort of non-semantic elements. They're just spacers. And again, it's sort of a hack approach. I did this in exercise 2 to demonstrate special characters, okay? Or reference characters. Simple as that. But I'm going to get rid of them now. And on the HRs, let's just take a look. So we have our header, and inside the header we have an image, we have H1, we have H2, and then following the header I have some of these classes. So it would make sense that following H2, which is inside the header. Matter of fact, let's just go up a little bit and let's take a look. So we have header, and then we have header image, and then I have H1. And this would apply to every single H1 on the page. And this selector would apply to every H2 on the page. Now, there's a likelihood that I could add an H1 inside the main element, and there is certainly a likelihood that I could add an H2 element elsewhere in my layout. So if I don't want those other H1s and potential H2s to take on the same styles, then I should target them specifically. So I'm just going to go ahead and update this selector and turn it into a compound selector to where we are now going to target the H1 in the header specifically. Let's do this for H2 also. Okay, so if we save and we preview our page, then everything should remain the same, except for those funky little non-semantic spaces have been removed. All right, so now let's go ahead and deal with these HR elements. Now, don't be surprised if you see, and we talked about this in a previous video, it's not uncommon that you'll see that forward slash, a space and a forward slash. This is XML, all right? So, I'm sorry, it's XHTML, all right? And this is sort of the old way of doing it, but people still do. So what we're going to do is get rid of that, and that was just to sort of point that out to you. So, all right, so after H2, let's go ahead and we will target HR. So this will target both of those horizontal rules, and we're going to set the width, and I believe we had 500 pixels for the width of our header. So let's try, see if I remember correctly here. So we're going to go ahead and save, and let's preview, and we'll update here just to make sure. Okay, and we'll see that the HRs have moved over a little funky. So let's go and take a look and let's see what has happened. let's try adding some margin. So our width again is 500 and our rules are showing up in the middle of the page. So every element with its box model has a default amount of margin. So let's go ahead and deal with this. So we'll do margin and let's just do 0, and this will place 0 margin on all 4 sides of the HR. So we're going to save, and let's go ahead and update our page, and we'll take a look. Okay, so in fact, our rules have moved, and they are now 500 pixels, and we have zeroed out the margin, which basically makes them very difficult to see. So let's adjust that margin. So let's go back, and we're going to leave, or I should say, let's add 20 pixels to the top. We'll add 0 to the right. Let's add, matter of fact, let's make this to where it's really easy to see, to demonstrate what's going to happen here. So we will go 15 on the top, 0 on the right. We'll go 30 px on the bottom, and then 0 on the left. And we're going to save. And let's update our page. And you're going to see now on the top margin, we have 15 pixels. Now this is the second horizontal rule, and you'll see this space is more than 15 pixels. And that's because on the HR, we added 30 pixels to the bottom, and we added, and then this, so this one will get 30 pixels on the bottom. That's why this H3 element is being pushed away. But remember, both these rules had 15 pixels on the top. So one might be led to believe that if we added 30 to the bottom, we would take the top of 15 plus the 30 and you would have 45. And it doesn't work that way. It's called margin collapse. It's whichever is largest wins. So you could do a search for margin collapse. And let's just see if we get a good visual example. I'm not sure if W3 schools, let's see if they show it here. I'm not sure if they have a good visual for it. They talk about margin collapse, but I'm not sure, I'm not seeing a good visual, but you could use this and do the try it yourself to basically demonstrate what it is I'm talking about. Again, margin collapse is where if you have bottom margin and top margin, and you have two elements coming together, the largest margin wins. Okay, they're not added together. The largest one is the one which is applied. So that's called margin collapse. But again, you can go to W3 schools and you can take a look at the margin property, which will give you an example of margin collapse. All right, so we're going to go back here, and at one point what we're going to do is we're going to add margin to this H3. Okay, so I don't want all of this space. So let's go and fix this real quick. So what we're going to do is we'll increase the margin top to 20, and we will set the margin bottom to 0, and we'll save. And let's go ahead and update. And you will see that we have 20 pixels at the top, 20 pixels at the top here, and this is really close. So in the next video, what we'll end up doing is fixing this space by adding margin to the top of our H3.